Hi, Rich Tehrani in the TMC newsroom here at the Telex CVX 2009 event. Today we're speaking with David Yedwab, who's with Market Strategy and Analytics. David is an industry analyst, very well known in the space, one of the top thought leaders, also a columnist for TMCnet. David, welcome to the show.
Rich, good to be here. And from the turnout here, you'd never know we were in the middle of a recession.
Absolutely not, I agree.
It's incredible. Energy, activity, business being done. It's really an exciting day.
So some of the trends that you're seeing at this show, could you share those with us?
Well, I think I'm seeing two big things. Video is going to be a game changer in terms of putting zeros on the number of petabits or zettabytes of bandwidth that we're going to be consuming. And secondly, and I'm not sure we know which words to use yet, whether it's going to be hosting of more of the IT solutions, or whether it's cloud computing, or whatever one of the acronyms that we haven't created yet for that new phenomenon of going back to the mainframe from 30 years ago. I'm not sure.
So those are the two big trends. So video, what have you seen in the video space that leads you to believe that? Obviously we're on video, so the irony is not lost on the viewers of this conversation, but tell me more about that.
Well, what we're seeing is, I believe, and it's sort of interesting that we're 35 years here in New York City from the introduction of picture phone meeting service at the New York World's Fair. It's hard to believe that it took 35 years for video to finally take off, but I think we're at a convergence of the technologies can support it. We certainly have enough robustness, or getting to enough robustness in the network, and it seems to be happening from two ends. The idea of telepresence, of being there electronically or technologically, as well as the ability to deliver solutions and services at a time when travel seems to be the anathema of most businesses. That's one. Secondly, the quality of the desktop video is really taking off, and certainly as we're seeing more and more streaming video over the internet, we've got a consumer and a residential play as well as a business play.
Sure, and I've actually, obviously in our business, TMC being a perfect example, where we started out as a publishing company with magazines, eventually evolved to a website where we wrote articles and had webinars, and then eventually podcasts, and then eventually now tremendous amounts of video content that is slowly but surely dwarfing the rest of our content in terms of just the density of information, or the density of space that it takes on our hard disks and our server farms, etc. So it's interesting to see how the market's evolving, and I've been talking to people here about content delivery networks and how there's been a doubling in some cases of these CDNs on an annual basis, and it doesn't seem to stop.
Well, as more and more of the information that we need becomes available, and people want to have access to it when it's convenient for them, and more of it is stored in video, I'm surprised you're only seeing doubling. I would have expected closer to factors of 10 on an annual basis.
Right.
So that doesn't surprise me. And then coupled with this other trend of people wanting to centralize their IT resources to the point that they can, in cloud computing environments or hosting environments, to take advantage of the broadband capabilities that we've got and the scale of virtualization, etc. These two forces driving things together are transforming the way services are going to be delivered to consumers, to enterprises, to service providers, and by service providers.
So I'm going to go in a little bit of a different direction with my next question. You kind of touched on it, but there are companies looking to make more money in the communication space. There are people looking for jobs that are tech savvy that maybe have been laid off. What would you advise either of those people or organizations to do to find a job or to create a business opportunity? We've talked about video, we've talked about the cloud. Are there any other areas, subsets that people should be looking at?
Well, in terms of finding jobs and creating jobs, one of the things that we've seen in most of the downturns is innovation comes out of the downturns.
Right.
People get creative. We're seeing an awful lot of incubation of ideas happening in universities and new opportunities happening. I think people need to be attuned to those, attuned to the new technologies, and be willing to change what they do. No longer do I believe an individual should think about having one career with one or two employers for their working lives, but almost think about one or two careers perhaps simultaneously changing every 3, 4, 5 years.
Wow, that's interesting. Okay. Well, David, thank you so much for being on the program. Thank you for your advice and for everything else that you've shared with us on this program. Great. Thanks.